This is the 2023 Kia Niro EV, and it's an all-new model and much better than the previous one. But it's also a fair bit more expensive. Is it worth the money though? Let's find out. Welcome to Four Wheels and a Seat. My name is Alex Dalrymple, and every week I review a brand new car. To make sure you don't miss one, hit that subscribe button down below, and if you like what you see, you can give me a like as well. Style-wise, this is one of the most contemporary looking cars on the road. It really does look so much better than the old Niro and reflects Kia's current design language. At the front, I really like these thin LED driving lights that do double duty as turn indicators. We've got a blanked out grille here with just a suggestion of the famous Kia Tiger nose there, and under that, the high-speed charging port. From the side, you can see the new Niro takes on a little bit more of a hatchback sort of shape rather than the previous model's SUV form. We've got roof rails up on top here, and on the C-pillar are actually functional vents that allow air to pass through to the back here for improved aerodynamics. The wheels are 17 inches and they follow the current trend of piano black with silver highlights, and they look nice enough. The rear of the Niro looks good, but I do have a couple of issues with it, and this isn't a problem exclusive to the Niro. Kia have been doing this across a few of their cars lately, and that is putting turn indicators and reversing lights down here on the bumper, where people in traffic, when they're stopped up close to you, can't actually see them on. And if you're in a truck or something like that, you're never going to see these. I think Kia need to just maybe rethink that design a little bit and bring the light clusters up a little bit higher where people can see them more clearly. Underneath the powered tailgate, we get a 475 litre storage space. Knock down those rear seats, you can add another 900 litres to that. Underneath the floor, we get space for your charging cables and tyre repair kit. No spare tyre, sorry. The Kia Niro is not exclusively an electric car. There is a petrol hybrid version available, so all of the electric motor sits up front here as it would in an internal combustion engine car. This particular electric model outputs 150 kilowatts of power and 255 newton meters of torque from a 64 kilowatt hour battery that you can charge to 80% in 43 minutes, 0 to 100 in just under 8 seconds. And from a full charge, you'll get a claimed 460 kilometers of range, although in my experience, 420 is probably a little closer to reality. We get a small frunk up the front here too, where you could store your charging cables or maybe even cook yourself bacon and eggs on a hot day like today. The interior of the Niro is all new as well, and it couldn't be further removed from the old model. It looks really, really good. It follows the same design language that we've seen in the EV6 and Sportage, and it looks amazing, although there is a lot of piano black in here. The centerpiece, or should I say centerpieces, are the dual 10.25-inch LED screens here up at the front, joined together in one long screen, and they look magnificent. The center console screen runs the same excellent software that we've seen in other high-spec Kias, so there is plenty of customization available. You can change the color of the ambient lighting, there's native navigation, heaps of EV information. There's also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, although you will need a USB cable to use them. Oh, I forgot to mention the sound system, by the way. It's a Harman Kardon sound system, and it sounds really good. Just like the EV6, we get this lower touch screen here, which can alternate between shortcuts for the center console screen and climate controls. It really is one of the best executions of this kind of thing I've seen in any car. It works really, really well. A couple of USBs underneath that, USB-A and USB-C, plus a 12-volt outlet. We get wireless phone charging under that. The lower console here, full of piano black, which in this car, having done nearly 7,000 kilometers, is full of scratches. Unfortunately, you really can see them here in the sunlight. We've got controls for the heated and ventilated front seats, and also the heated steering wheel controls, electronic park brake, gear shifter here on a rotary dial, and the power button for the car. A couple of mechanical cup holders here that work really well. We've seen this style of cup holder in a few different Kias, and a very small center console bin there, but there is a bit more storage space just in front of it. Nice soft lid on it too. Head-up display on the windshield does exactly that, shows you your speed and turn-by-turn directions from the nav, plus also a visualization of your adaptive cruise control function. The digital instrument cluster, again, classic Kia, same as other high-spec Kias, so we've got 3 display modes linked to the drive mode that you're in, but you can choose whichever one you like at any time. And then there is a fourth dynamic display mode showing you the horizon. And for the first time, I actually noticed that this car will display rain on the screen when it's raining outside. I don't know if the other ones do that, but I've noticed it for the first time here, and that's pretty cool. The steering wheel, same as the EV6, two-spoke design here. Don't love it, but it looks nice enough. We've got the drive mode button here on the wheel as well to add a bit of an extra sporty flavour to proceedings, and two paddle shifters back here to control the regenerative braking, which I'll talk more about when we go for a drive. Seating position is pretty high in the cabin. I would like it if it was just a little bit lower, but there is good visibility out the front and all round. It's a nice light glass house, especially aided by the sunroof there, and the seats themselves are leather with ventilation, as I mentioned before, full electric adjustment for the driver and front passenger. These headrests are an interesting design. They look like they'd be uncomfortable, but they're actually pretty good. Again, here on the doors, we get more piano black, a great big huge slab of it here, but I do like this design with the door handle, and it is a bit harsh here with some of these materials, and this armrest does feel just a little bit plasticky. Jumping into the back seat of the Niro, and look, there's not a huge amount of room here for a 190 centimetre tall adult like me behind my own seating position. My knees are pretty hard up against the seat in front of me, which wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for this hard plastic shell on the back, which makes it really uncomfortable on my knee bones. Not a lot of toe room either, but we do have a nice flat floor here because there's no transmission tunnel. It's a front wheel drive car, so there is a little bit of extra room there. Rear air vents, we get a USB-C port in the back of each of the front seats here for rear-seat passengers. Headroom is pretty good. There is a lot of harsh scratched plastic on these door inserts. The front gets some more soft touch materials and piano black, but back here it's all hard plastic, which doesn't feel great. Armrest with cup holders. So for a tall adult on a short trip, this is okay. I think the kids would be reasonably happy back here on a longer trip. The Niro is really nice to drive. It is very quiet in here, and it's not just the electric powertrain, but there is no road noise and no wind noise. It is, I don't know why I'm speaking so loudly, because I really don't need to. It is so quiet in here. The suspension has been tuned in Australia for Australian conditions, so it rides very smoothly over our slightly less than perfect roads. The steering is a little bit on the light side, but it is nice and direct and could do with just a little bit more feel perhaps. So with its 8 second 0 to 100 time, it's quick, but not too quick, but it's certainly fast enough for around town. And like a lot of cars, the collision warning likes going off at seemingly random times, like it did just then. There was nothing in front of me. It's seeing ghosts. But better safe than sorry, I guess. So there are 3 drive modes, normal, eco and sport, and they pretty much do what they say on the label. Eco does kind of dull things down quite a bit and takes a bit of the fun out of the ride, but you do get several kilometres more of range from your battery. Is that worth the trade-off? Well, I think it depends on how low your battery is and how far you need to go. Sport mode does liven things up a bit, but it's not the kind of outrageous performance you're going to get from a EV6 GT, for example. One thing I have noticed driving this car around town is that it has been getting a fair bit of attention because it does have a slightly unusual look, and I think this is true of all electric cars. Pedestrians in particular are just not used to seeing them on the roads yet, because the number of times I found myself sort of accidentally sneaking up behind people and they turn around and see me and suddenly get a jolt because they had no idea I was behind them. There are a few levels of regenerative braking, and that's where the car uses the engine braking to charge the battery, and you can change the severity of that with the paddle shifters here on the steering wheel. If you double tap it twice on plus, it'll go into iPedal mode, which is the most extreme version, which pretty much allows you to drive this car without using the brake pedal at all if you're careful. For example, just now I am slowing down almost to a stop without having to touch the brake, and if you just sort of finesse it gently and with a bit of practice, you can get away without touching the brake pedal at all. And it is satisfying to see that your range does increase slightly with regenerative braking while you're driving around. Oh, one other feature I forgot to mention is that underneath the back seat is a standard power outlet, a 240 volt power outlet that you can plug any device into just as you would at home and run it off the battery, which is a pretty cool feature. This car's claimed battery life of 460 kilometers for urban driving is actually really good. I live in an older apartment building with nowhere to charge, and I've had this car now for about a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks, and I haven't needed to charge it at all. Admittedly, it's been holiday time. I haven't been driving in my regular sort of pattern, so I've probably managed to squeeze a bit more life out of it than I otherwise would have. But, you know, I think with regular urban usage, where you're driving maybe 30 kilometers a day, you could probably go a good week and a half without needing to charge. Starting at just over $70,000 and going up to $78,000 for the GT line model you see here, the Kia Niro EV is not a cheap electric car. Yes, you get a lot of gear, but you also get in the Polestar 2 dual motor, which is faster, larger, and goes further, and still costs about $1,000 less than this. And at the other end of the scale is the MG ZS EV, which is about the same size as the Niro, doesn't come with as much gear, but costs about $30,000 less, and also comes with a 7-year warranty. So unless you're a dyed-in-the-wool Kia fan, I'd seriously consider taking one of those other ones for a test drive first.